A smartphone app to track the spread of COVID-19 may never be released, ministers admitted yesterday, as they abandoned a 3-month attempt to create their own version of the technology. Now, I watched Matt Hancock yesterday. He's looking even more haunted than usual, isn't he? And oddly enough, he looked quite haunted at the beginning, as if he almost had a fear or a suspicion of what might happen to him after he sold his soul to Boris Johnson late last year. I watched the press conference yesterday and I had a bit of a moment. I'm not going to lie to you. I had a bit of a sort of double take, a Scooby-Doo, one of those little moments, because I don't remember anybody mentioning that we were actually pursuing both apps all along, and that there was a sort of attempt to set one off against the other, wasn't there? I'm pretty sure callers told us on this programme weeks ago that the app that the government was looking at wouldn't work on Apple phones. Wasn't that one of the first things, or have I imagined that? That's the problem now, is that I feel I am just dipping under the surface of having my head on right. Do you know what I mean? Just beginning, not to drown, but just beginning to struggle to swim. I like, as you do as well, because you choose to listen to this programme, I like to know what's going on. I don't like comforting lies or empty slogans. They don't work on me. There are times, particularly with Brexit looming, that I really wish I did. I wish I could find comfort in things that are simply not true, but which spare me the strain of having to think about them. But with this app, I think for the first time this morning, I found myself almost waving the white flag. The complications, the confusions, the contradictions, the misdirections, the misinformation, the outright lies, the deceits, the deceptions, just now are reaching a point of critical mass where I find myself thinking, and I'm about to ask you to help me get back on the straight and narrow, to mix my metaphors quite violently. I find myself thinking now that, for heaven's sake, I just can't keep up anymore. I thought we needed an app before we could properly loosen the lockdown. I thought we needed a really top-class testing and tracing system before we could even contemplate reopening shops. And as far as I can tell, we haven't got one. And the last person I'd trust to tell me that we have got one is the person who's currently in charge of trying to reassure the country that we're safe. Am I making sense to you when I say, I'm using the swimming analogy? The swimming analogy works quite well for me. It's only 10 minutes past 10. I reserve the right to change it completely by 11 o'clock. But I've been swimming quite happily. I've been, even tried a bit of butterfly, bit of backstroke, bit of breaststroke over there. It's the PPE, got my head around the PPE. That was all nonsense. The reason why we didn't do the testing was because we didn't have the kit. The reason why we didn't have the PPE was because we hadn't done the preparedness. The reason why we didn't have the equipment was because we hadn't got the stockpile. The reason why we didn't have a strategy was because Boris Johnson shut down the committee dedicated to pandemic response within days of becoming Prime Minister. The reason why we didn't have any leadership was because he went on holiday in February. Do you see what I mean? I can swim around. I've got it. Touch that base there, swim down, inflate my pyjamas, swim to the other side, dive underneath the water, get the leather brick, bring it back up again, pop it on the side, green badge, yellow badge, red badge, blue badge. I've been doing great. I've had my head around everything. And then today, looking at this story about the app, I just feel myself throwing my hands up in frustration and saying, I don't even know what day it is anymore. Friday, yeah. I don't even know what day it is anymore. I'm 99% sure that we were supposed to have a really good testing and tracing system in place before we could even contemplate reopening some of the stuff that we've reopened this week. And yet then I hear people who, to the best of my knowledge, don't have any doctorates in virology, insisting that we need to get even more open as quickly as possible. Otherwise, terrible things will happen.